Hey, welcome back. Hope you're having a good day so far, and hope you did your homework so that you could pull out why it was so important to you and what is so meaningful about this and the difference you want to make. I mean, that's some really good stuff. And today we're going to talk about discovering your power. So this is video 5. After we finish this, you'll be halfway through with a lot of great stuff to come. And so today, it's really a lot about self-belief. If you think about everything really comes down to belief. Do you know what a belief is? A belief is simply a thought you continue to think. That's all it is. Doesn't necessarily make it true or not. For generations, for millenniums, there have been false beliefs in the world, right? At one point, the world was believed to be flat, right? Everybody thought it was flat. It wasn't flat, but that's what they thought, right? And so there it was, accepted. It didn't make it true just because people believed it. There's been tons of those kinds of things. And you have those about yourself. And so this is a powerful concept. It's part of something I do in my 6 Decisions for Success series. It's something I teach in all leadership curriculums. It's really, really important stuff. So first, it's so important to understand that you have been steeped in negative conditioning. Even if you have had the most positive childhood on the history of the planet, that was just inside of your house. When you get out in the world, there's a lot of negative, and it continues to come. The average person hears no, or no you can't, or no you won't, or you can't, or something negative, derogatory about themselves 150,000 times by the time they're 17. And they hear something positive 5,000. So doesn't it make perfect sense that most people have a really skewed self-opinion, right? A really suppressed self-opinion. And then as a result of that, we get pretty conditioned, and we get conditioned to build monuments, just like earlier in the second video when I talked about your successes, building monuments to your failures. We build monuments to what we're not. We build monuments to false beliefs, right, about ourselves and negative perspectives about ourselves, and decide that those things we don't have, or that we're not, or that we don't like, represent who we are, when in fact they are completely irrelevant. They're actually irrelevant because nobody's everything. And so to focus on what we're not it doesn't even make sense. But we're in that world, right? We're in that world where you have all the, everything is got to be like this, right? You get all these signals and signs from, you're either bombed with negative messages from the news and the media and all the things that are happening, right? Or you get bombed with all the perfection that, you're not a good enough person unless you have this, or you're not pretty enough unless you look like this, or you're not, you know what I'm talking about, right? And all that stuff is totally irrelevant. If you just shut it all off, it would make a big difference. It's pretty hard to do that because that's the world we live. However, there are things you can do to grow your self-belief, and take it from someone who started with 0. And that doesn't mean I've stopped. I work on this every single day. It's that important because, well, the world's not stopping, right? The world's not stopping. It's going to throw the negative garbage at you day in, day out. And doing this business, you're going to get plenty of it, right? You would doing anything else, but I'm just saying, you're going to get plenty of it. So we're going to talk a little bit about strengths because that's huge. See, you've got strengths and you got weaknesses. You probably, I'm saying probably, it's really highly likely, most of your life you focus more on what's wrong with you, right? What you're not good at, what you can't do, what doesn't come easy, right? You just disregard your strengths. And even to the point where most people think that you should focus on working on your weaknesses. No, it's a waste of time. The only time you focus on a weakness is when it specifically gets in the way of a strength. Your strengths are what will make room for you. Your strengths are what you've been blessed with to make your impact. You're supposed to work on your strengths and find ways to offset your weaknesses by delegating or learning something or hiring someone. There's a million different things. I'm not even going to get into that. That's a different strategy conversation. This is really about understanding and believing in the self that is you, this unique, powerful, awesome creature that you are, that you don't realize. That's been potentially trapped in this mindset of I'm not good enough, right? Because I'm an introvert, or because I, don't have any money, or I don't have any track record, or I don't have this, or I don't have that, or I'm not like this, or blah. It's just blah. You have so many great strengths, and you need to recognize that. I'm going to give you a way to do that here shortly. But the point is, you find your strengths and you work the heck out of them. That's how you succeed in life, is by working. That's how you're going to build your business, is by using what you're strong at and figuring out how to mitigate the weaknesses that get in the way. So, for example, being an introvert, right? Prospecting was a little bit of a problem. Being in a conversation with someone, totally different, because that's a strength for an introvert, because they'll focus on the other person. That's powerful, right? Really powerful, way more powerful than you might even know. But you got to overcome the weakness of getting into a conversation, right? So you find ways to get into the conversation, which I'm going to teach you, and then your strength can shine, right? Because in that point, and at that point, now you're in your strength zone, and that's the key. So 6 things that will grow your self-belief in my blueprint process, digital training, which has helped a lot of people. It's a tremendous, tremendous value, but I spend a lot of time on mindset in that, because mindset is everything. I mean, this work is not that hard, especially if you come from the right mindset. And so this is part of that. Growing your self-belief is huge. So number 1, you got to focus on who you are, not what you're not, right? Remember, we talked about comparison. That's pointless. Don't do any comparisons. Focus on who you are. Uncover your strengths. Use your strengths in the work. Now, you've already gotten a feel for it when you went through your competencies and character, because there is some indicators right there about what are some of your strengths. Again, I've mentioned this already. Listening. I'm an unbelievable listener. Always have been, because I was so painfully shy for so long. I just never talked about myself. I just always diverted. And then when I got into development and education and teaching, I really refined and mastered it to be actually an excellent listener, not just to use it naturally, and then leverage that skill into a massive business. And that's exactly what you can do. You can do the same thing, because I'll teach you exactly how to get into conversations. It's pretty simple. So focus on who you are. Who you are is what matters. Who your strengths are, that's what you're supposed to be. Number 2 is daily personal development. You have got to spend at least 15 minutes a day in personal development. I'm going to give you this little nugget right now. We'll come back to it probably later. But to succeed in this business is really, from a what to do perspective, is pretty simple. 1, prospect daily. 2, personal development daily. 3, training daily. You do those 3 things, you can build a business. That's simple. Doesn't matter where you start, doesn't matter what your credibility is, doesn't matter what your skill set is, nothing matters. You can build a business, all right? Just giving you that now. We'll come back to it later. So daily personal development. Read something good for you that grows you. Listen to something good for you that grows you. Watch something good for you that grows you. Hopefully this is satisfying that right now. But invest in yourself. You are the most important resource you have. Invest in yourself daily, and it helps to grow your self-belief. You grow belief, you grow your ability to do anything. That is, if you believed you were going to succeed, just like you believed you could ride a bike, you will. I mean, it's just a fact, because you won't stop until you do. Number 3 is study successful people outside of the industry. Outside of the industry. Yeah, it's great to get stories about people in the industry. That's fine. But it's even more powerful to look at people who've accomplished incredible things, or even small things that were meaningful, that are outside of the industry, because what you're going to see almost every time you do this is you're going to see people that overcame difficulties, just like you will in building your business, right? They overcame situations. In some cases, situations where you're like, oh my gosh, how could they possibly have done that? How did J.K. Rowling write Harry Potter when she was on welfare, on napkins in a restaurant? How did she do that, right? Because she had grit. She just did it. She used will, right? That's the stuff I'm teaching you. She obviously had a skill, but it wouldn't have mattered if she didn't apply her will, right? So study successful people outside of the industry. See their stories. They will really, really inspire you. Number 4 is take action. Nothing builds belief more than action. Nothing. Because just the mere step of acting, picking up the phone and prospecting, reaching out on social media the right way to somebody and getting into a conversation makes you feel good. You will never, ever, ever feel your way into a new way of acting. Because if you don't feel good and you don't act, you're going to feel worse. But you can flip that script. If you take action, even when you don't feel like it, you'll feel better. And then you can take more action. It works every time. So taking action will always grow self-belief. Number 5 is celebrate your wins. Celebrate your wins. And you know what? A win doesn't have to be that you sponsored the next major player, right? Or you recruited the next superstar for your business. A win is overcoming your own fears, busting through a little piece of your comfort zone. Sure, sponsoring someone, that feels good. Getting a new customer, that feels good. But making a contact when it's uncomfortable for you, that's a victory. You have to learn to embrace that, right? And then every day is full of victories. And the more you get every day is full of victories, the more you'll have those little victories, and then the more you'll have bigger victories. So you got to celebrate all your wins. You know, regardless of what I say, you're going to frown on your losses. You're gonna, no matter what I say, you're gonna do that. So let's celebrate your wins too, okay? And then number 6, engage with people that believe in you. Really, really important. Manage who you're around. If you're around people that are negative, cut them out. Cut them out, right? Minimize the exposure you have to them. If you are around people that talk poorly about what you do, don't be around them, right? Engage with people that believe in you, support you, right? Including get a mentor or a coach if you need it. Like I do coaching and I do mentoring because people need that. And so I'm not saying it has to be me, but if you need to have a mentor or a coach and you don't find that you have one in your upline or, your sponsor or your community, then reach out and find one because that will be important. That's someone that can help you understand that you can clearly do it. I hope I'm satisfying that right now in these videos because you can, no doubt. And I look forward to hearing about it. But I know you can because I could and anybody can. And I know people who've gone through way worse than I did, even though what I went through felt pretty bad, but it's all relative to everybody. So engage with people that believe in you. So, so important. So I hope that was helpful. Those 6 things will grow your self-belief. Embrace them. You might have to watch this one again and take note of those 6. But here's your exercise. This exercise is really, really important. It comes from Buckingham's book about Go Put Your Strengths to Work. And it is really, really a great exercise. So your strengths are relatively easy to identify, but you probably never identified them all. You've probably identified your weaknesses, but not your strengths. And it's important to identify those strengths. So number 1, a strength can be what you're good at. Anything you're good at, right? That's a strength, clearly. And you could say strengths are resources and contacts and money and time. Those things are strengths too, but I'm talking about personal strengths. So 1 is what you're good at. 2 is things that you learn quickly. Anything you learn quickly is in your strength zone. So think about things in areas that you learn quickly. Number 3, something you're drawn to, right? That's real congruent with your heart. If you're drawn to something, that's totally congruent to who you are. And so is all this, but that really will show it. And then 4, it feels good when you do it. It feels really good. It gives you power when you do it. And I'll give you a great example that will help you. And those of you who are as introverted as me will totally get this. So one of my strengths is working with and teaching in groups, right? It's one of my power strengths and something I've been blessed with. And so I can be in a group, right, for hours and hours and hours and hours, teaching, training, and I'm not even remotely tired. Not remotely tired. I can go and go and go till no one else can take it, right? But if you put me in that same group socially, within an hour, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to go home and rest, right? Because it takes so much energy. That's the point. So your exercise, identify your strengths. Get as many of them as you can. What you're good at, what you learn quickly, what you're drawn to, and what gives you power. All right? Hope that was helpful for you today. That's a power lesson for you. Tomorrow, we are going to focus on things that will make it easier for you to build. It's a specific focus that changes everything. And then we're going to move into prospecting and a bunch of good stuff for you that will really, really help you roll. All right? So, hope you're enjoying it so far. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow.